Good morning, flutists and flutarians, atomic flutists, I could say. So, if you haven't yet listened to or read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, I highly recommend it. Some of the ideas in that book I'm basing this warm up session off of. Atomic Habits is so named based off of this idea that the atom is the smallest divisible piece of matter. And if we break down our habits, for example, in flute playing or any other area of our life where we want to develop good habits, into teeny tiny, easily digestible chunks and make them easy and attractive and satisfying, then it will make it that much easier to form a reliable system of habits. Now, I already formed a reliable system of habits for my flute playing while I was in high school and college. I had the good fortune to attend the High School for Performing and Visual Arts in Houston, Texas, which is kind of like a pre-conservatory program. And then I attended the University of North Texas to study music. But well, after a burnout that I'll tell you more about later, I basically quit playing and just kind of relied on all of the experience that I built in those multiple hours every day in the practice room during my time in school. But now, occasionally, when I'm improvising and I try and reach for a technique on the flute, it doesn't come out like as smoothly or perfectly or beautifully as I would like to. And so I've made it my New Year's resolution to start practicing technique again in a consistent sort of way. So my minimum is 30 minutes a day, 4 times a week. And I'm going to be going live on Sundays through Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. Central Time so that you can join me and achieve and maintain your tip-top flute fitness as well, so that when you're improvising, you can be as expressive as possible, or so that when you're playing written sheet music, you can be as prepared as possible for whatever the composer asks of you. So I wanted to share this idea that musicians are small muscle athletes. So there's lots of muscles involved here and all over the body, I guess, when we play the flute. And the principles of like riding a bike are the same. They say that you how to ride a bike, but you can get out of shape, right? It can become more difficult in the sense of if you don't use it, you lose it. So let's use it. And let's get started with some long tones without vibrato, just with the goal of playing the longest note you've played today. I'm going to put on a drone tone on C. And each note has a particular, each interval, each relationship to the drone tone has a particular feel or color. And I want you to listen for that and see if you can sense when it feels more dissonant and see if you can sense when it feels more consonant and right. So I'm going to start on this F. And we'll just do one note per breath. Now, in my opinion, the lowest octave of the flute is the foundation for a beautiful higher octave. So I always warm up my lower octave first. Let's do the E. You can't force flow when it comes to playing the lowest notes on the flute. Let's relax into that low E flat. I think playing the low C on the flute is like doing the center splits without a warm-up. only freaks of nature and professionals can do it without a warm-up. So let's relax down into that. Where were we? D. And D flat. And the low C. Now, let's do a similar sort of warm-up down, but let's do 2 notes per breath, and let's make this dynamic shape with the notes. So in the middle, where we're changing to the next note, play as fortissimo, as loudly as you can, and at the beginning and the end of the 2-note phrase, play as quietly as possible. Now, remember that the flute tends to go sharp when we play louder, and it tends to go flat when we play quieter. So get your visual tuner out or listen closely to the drone tone to detect and hopefully compensate when your pitch goes up or your pitch goes down. Let's start on this F again. I'm going to make this drone a little bit louder. Now, we're also developing an awareness of our air tank and how full is it. So when you get to about 50 and 51%, I want you to make that your moment when you change notes. So let's do the E to E flat. E flat to D. Let's practice our C major scale a little bit next. Now, in an ideal world, we will practice our scales starting and ending on every single note of the flute. So let's just start on the low C. I'm going to take a second and grab a metronome. I'm going to turn on a metronome at 100 beats per minute. And let's do it like this, where we start with just 2 notes in the scale, and we do that at least 4 times. And then we add a note and do the 3 notes in the scale. Do that at least 4 times. Then add 4 and 5 and so on. So let's do this just for the first octave. Let's do it where we do the combination of notes until we run out of breath, for one breath. Now 3. Now up to F. Now I'm watching myself in the camera and looking at these fingers, and I'm trying to be mindful of not having a T-time pinky or fingers that are really high up. I want them to be staying close to the keys. So now let's do C to G. Whew, I'm getting warm now. That's good. If you haven't already joined the Flutarian School or joined the conversations there, ooh, you get to see my spirit animal, the leopard. If you haven't already joined the conversations there, you're missing out on some fun and some support, like the Flutarian's Journey Mad Lib, where we get to hear a little bit of your story, including what is your spirit animal. So let's do C up to A now. Now let's do C to B. Now C to C. Now I am doing a sneaky little transition with my pinky over here. When I'm gonna play the high C, but I know that I'm about to go to the low C, I go ahead and shift my fingers over to the pinky fingering for low C while I'm still playing the high C. See, the C sounds the same. That higher C sounds the same no matter where your pinky is. And that prepares me for the next note. Now, let's do that same sort of thing, but starting on the D, and then we'll add one note at a time. So we'll start with D to E. Now D to F. Now D to G. Let's do D to A next. Ooh, I'll wipe my glasses off. I feel like I've got a hair floating around here somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't need to be reading any music for this. This is something we can do without our eyes, just our ears. What was I saying? D to A? Now let's do D to B. Now let's do D to C. Now, I failed to mention that I'm practicing this slurred, no articulation, just connecting with the breath. This is the best way, with the lack of articulation, to listen for, are your fingers moving quickly and at the same time? Now let's do the same, repeat the process, E to F. I guess this first one is like a trill, right? E to F. E to G. Now let's do E to A. Now E to B. Now E to C. Let's do the same thing starting on F. Here we go, F to G. And F to A. Got my new sticker as well from the Flutarians Redbubble shop. In a world full of noise, be the music that brings us together. Let's do F to be natural. And F to C. Okay, let's do G, starting on G and G to A. G to B. And G to C. Now let's start on A and just do A to B. Now A to C. Now let's finish with basically a B to C trill. Let's do it with the metronome though. Ooh, that last one sounds kind of like a siren coming, right? I'm going to put on the drone tone kind of quietly, and let's do a little bit of mimicking a siren. I call this the Doppler effect, and this can be the beginning of our short little vibrato practice. So vibrato, what is vibrato? It's basically little tiny bends in the pitch, right? And sometimes they're really tiny, and sometimes they're bigger and taller and have a wider change or variety in the pitch. So the Doppler effect is the scientific name for that experience we have when a ambulance or other vehicle with a siren is far away and it's getting closer and closer, and it sounds like the siren is getting higher and higher and higher because the sound waves are getting compressed as it gets closer, and when it passes us, it starts sounding lower and lower and lower. I guess the sound waves are a little further out as it's zooming that way. So let's try and replicate that effect on this C. So we'll start by going higher and higher and higher and higher. And then when you're about halfway through using your air tank, let's go lower and lower and lower. Let's do this 3 times. This is like practicing the most extreme vibrato. Now, if you're watching my chin, you can see there's a lot of activity where I'm moving, like pointing my nose upward or tilting my head upward to make it more sharp, and pointing my nose downward or opening my jaw or lowering my jaw to make it lower. There's other things that I'm doing too to make it lower. I might be physically rolling in the flute some with my hands, or to make it higher, I might be physically rolling the flute out some with my hands. And I'm noticing to make the pitch higher, I'm kind of making a firm top lip and pointing my air, directing it more upwards. And for the lower ones, I'm making a really soft, supple, flexible lower lip. Let's try that 2 more times. Now, if your flute sound is jumping into the higher octave when this is happening, that's okay. Part of what we're doing here is learning where is physically in our embouchure the distinction between the higher octave and the lower octave. Let's actually practice that leap a little bit from this C to this C. Let's do it first with one breath slurred, no tongue articulating, and then let's do it again with the tongue articulating. What are you noticing? The changes in your embouchure. I'm noticing that for the higher note, it's almost like my lips are a little bit more of a kissy lips, like I'm making that tube in my lips a little bit longer. Let's do the same thing, but with adding articulation, a ta at the beginning. Let's do the same thing, but let's add a double tonguing sort of sound, tucka or dugga. Let's do maybe 2 notes per. Let's do just 1 or 2 minutes of vibrato practice now. We already started warming up for this with the Doppler effect. Let's do this on the low C, well, this C, the medium low C first, and then we'll do it on the next higher C next. Oh, my heating blanket is working. That's good. I could probably turn it off, actually. Let me do that. So let's practice our vibrato in this time without the metronome and just with this directive. Start slow and big and get faster and faster and faster until you're as fast as possible when you run out of breath. And then we'll take a breath and start as fast as possible and then go slower and slower and slower and slower. I recommend recording yourself for this. Here we go. Slow to fast on the C. Let's do the same thing on the higher C. Now I am thinking in my mind 1 and then 2 and then triple it and then 1 2 3 4 and then 1 2 3 4 5 and then 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then the opposite. So do that if that helps you. Let's go slow to fast and then fast to slow. Well, we're at about the 30-minute mark. Let's finish up with a little bit of harmonics. So we're going to put our fingers on the lowest C. We're going to leave our fingers there, and we're just going to change our embouchure. And let's see how high of a note can you get out. It should be this series. C, 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 G, C, E, G. I think you can get a higher one out from there too. Let's do this for a few breaths. Go slowly so you can sense where is the change happening precisely in your embouchure. That high one is a B flat. Let's do that one more time without the tongue, and then we'll do it one more time with the tongue articulated. Let's add the tongue and see if that makes it easier to get the notes out, but also to make the notes easier to get out, I want you to think in your mind first, how do I shape my embouchure for this next note? Then shape your embouchure and then start the ta, the air, the sound. If you can get those high notes out with the added resistance of the low fingering, the harmonic fingering, then you will be better prepared to play them with the proper fingering. So I hope this helps you warm up your upper register. I hope your lower register is nice and well warmed up now. And I invite you to join me tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time for improv games. And then directly after that at 8 p.m., I'll go live again on YouTube, share some kirtan songs, and maybe be joined by a couple of guest flutists. So if you would like to get off the page, improve your ability to play by ear, improve your improvising, and maybe learn how to play along with some devotional songs you might hear in a kirtan, join me tonight.